God killing has become a staple in games starring Kratos, Bayonetta, and countless other characters. With Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, a new pair of god killers by the name of Nor and Enki join their ranks.
If it's vengeance you want, I'll give it to you.
With a familiar tale about being wronged by the various gods of this world, it never quite manages to reach the peaks of its peers, borrowing lots of elements from other genres without standing out in any of them. But while that keeps it from greatness, Flintlock still continuously entertained me with its flashy combat and swift movement. Nor begins as a competent and headstrong soldier looking for glory that I would definitely classify as the look before you leap type.
Just pretend I shoved you, alright?
While her partner Enki is an adorable yet powerful god who's secluded himself from the world. He has his own reasons for joining Nor after her journey becomes one of revenge, assisting her with both his magical abilities and wisdom about his realm, and his energetic and humble curiosity makes his part of the story by far the highlight.
Consider me your chance at redemption.
This vengeful tale does occasionally fall into various cliches, but watching Nor and Enki's story unfold together was still enjoyable to the end, leaving me curious what could happen next if Flintlock were to get a sequel. Aside from the main characters, 4 NPCs join your camp and assist by offering various upgrades to your weapons, but apart from one quest chain involving a brother and sister in the group, they were pretty forgettable.
We hope the dead will beat you to it.
Thankfully, the various NPCs you'll come across through side quests are more memorable. There were 2 brothers running an arena I could enter, and this unique character that increased my maximum health potions, offered information, and sold me alternate outfits after liberating a town.
One good deed deserves another.
Unfortunately, you only get a small bit of exposition at the start before you're thrown into the middle of a war against the undead, and that setup failed to give me a reason to really care about the conflict or the people I was fighting for. The earliest hours of Flintlock are a bit rough in general, as you have limited combat options which can initially make fights feel a bit shallow, but that eventually changes once you gain access to more weapons and a few upgrades on the skill tree. Combat is fast and flows extremely well, attacks chain into each other with ease, and you can really feel the impact of each hit, as well as the magical abilities that come courtesy of Enki. Flintlock also offers various armor pieces for you to find that provide unique abilities like detonating enemies after stacking curses or splitting grenades in two. These armor options all have set bonuses, so you're encouraged to stack at least 2 of them for an enhanced effect, and that system expands with more interesting choices later on. Enki has the ability to curse enemies, which eventually stuns them and offers Nor the opportunity for a very flashy move that will either rip off armor or straight up execute them. He can also be upgraded to restrain, knock down, distract, and attack on his own, to the point where he often felt a bit too strong, even when I was playing on the hardest of the 3 difficulty options. I mean, he is a god, so I guess it's fair, but in later areas, I could take out entire groups of certain enemies with only his attacks. Top that off with super moves like a storm that knocks enemies up, or a beam that deals major damage and stun, and I almost felt bad for them. This ended up being a great way for me to farm experience, called Reputation, since, similar to Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, you earn a temporary experience multiplier that is built up by varying your attacks while avoiding taking damage, and Enki doing all the work in some fights allowed me to farm higher multipliers. It was challenging to amass a giant multiplier during the early game, but after picking up more abilities and weapons to swap between, I found myself routinely going past 100%, with my top being around 170%. This system encouraged me to use different weapons and variations on my regular combos in a way I haven't seen done in a Souls-like before. You have 3 skill trees that improve your gun, magic, and melee damage, and their branches end up blending together at the top. This structure allows you to bypass the lower upgrades on a tree while still accessing its high-tier abilities eventually. I enjoyed this because I was able to fully spec into the magic tree to get certain powerful abilities earlier, like having Enki suspend enemies in the air, and then still have access to the highest upgrades of the other trees without having to work my way up through all the cheap options I didn't want. A near completionist run took me about 26 hours, and Flintlock's comparatively tighter campaign length means that nearly every path in the world leads to something impactful, be that new weapons or health increases. There are also typically shortcuts to get you back to the main path quickly. These can either take the form of rest points you can fast travel to, or energy rifts in the sky that Nor and Enki can fly to in quick succession. These rifts are flashy and versatile, and besides acting as shortcuts to return you to your objective, they often offer a way for you to reach areas that would be otherwise inaccessible. They are probably one of my favorite mechanics in Flintlock, as they are also placed to quickly get you back to a main boss or smaller boss-like enemies if you die. Each zone has a number of side quests, with the majority of their objectives placed close to one another, making it easy to finish them all in quick succession and encouraging you to handle them as they pop up. There are a few exceptions to this rule. One quest had me scaling a mountain to find the daughter of an NPC who was unable to make the climb for their annual meetup, while another had me searching a mine for a worker who had gone missing. Many of the side quests were simple, yet enjoyable, and often had twists, like a knight who offered to take his army and vacate their outpost if I defeated him in combat without using my gunpowder-based weapons. Flintlock also has a minimalist approach to collectibles, with notes and signs to collect that offer small bits of lore or backstory, as well as 30 flags to find and destroy. But that's pretty much it. Compared to other RPGs, this relatively trim list of extras was a breath of fresh air, since I didn't have to worry about collecting hundreds of baubles, ultimately making me want to explore its world even more. There is also a very fast and simple minigame called Sebo that is played by moving coins on a board to form a triangle within a limited number of turns. These tic-tac-toe-like matches rarely lasted more than 2 minutes each, and with each victory, the amount of reputation you earned increases, making streams of wins pay off big time. There's even a bit of depth added as you progress, in that boards and the starting locations of coins change, and new strategies form by finding special coins that could have the ability to swap coin locations or form barricades. It's surprisingly fun, making for a nice distraction between fights. While the early hours are a bit rough, Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn is one of those Souls-like that only gets better as you get further in, unlocking more of the interesting skills that allow you to fully take advantage of its attack change and XP multipliers. However, you'll need to want to head off the beaten path to hunt down its optional extras in order to get the most out of it. Thankfully, Flintlock respects your time while doing so, with use of its shortcuts, fast travel, and other ways of making exploring fun and easy. It may have been an abridged runtime compared to other RPGs, but it makes good use of that time with interesting side quests and an excellent minigame. Unfortunately, Flintlock's story meanders a bit towards the middle and wastes a few opportunities that could have let its main character shine. But this adventure did leave me interested to find out where Nor and Enki will go next. For more, check out our reviews of Once Human or The First Descendant, and for everything else, stick with IGN.